open and yield myself time to talk about something you mentioned in your opening statement, and Mr. Elsie came through with as well, and that's the DNA collections. And in 2020, DHS mandated an expansion of DNA collections to all non-U.S. persons detained under the authority of the United States, including individuals detained for removal proceedings, migrants seeking entry to the U.S. for asylum purposes, or individuals apprehended after crossing into the U.S. DHS, I'm told, forwards the collected DNA samples to the FBI, which processes them, stores them, the resulting profiles in the combined DNA index system. How many samples is the FBI currently receiving for DHS per month? And how is that expected to change upon the ending of Title 42?
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. These were the numbers I was looking for in response to Congressman Elsie's question, but I've now managed to find them. We, during just the first quarter of fiscal year 23, received more than 130,000 samples collected by DHS at the border, but we expect that once Title 42 is rescinded, the number will jump by around 30,000 additional samples per month. So that gives you a sense of the fairly blistering pace that our folks are having to engage in to test all these samples. And again, time is of the essence, because in many cases, these are leading to and solving sexual assaults, homicides, and other serious crimes.
Does the budget request fully cover the estimated funding needs, assuming Title 42 ends this year? And what will be the impact of the ending of Title 42 on your crime lab capacity?
Well, we've put forward a budget request that will help us meet the need that we're trying to project. It is obviously a bit of an educated guess as to the pace, but we put forward a budget request that is designed to meet that. But I can assure the subcommittee and you, Mr. Chairman, that if whatever resources the subcommittee sees fit to send our way on this issue will be put to good use, because in addition to processing the DNA samples caused by this collection, at the border, of course, our folks are solving crimes left and right from samples that are submitted by state and local law enforcement all over the country, by federal investigations all over the country. So there's always a certain amount of backlog in its own right. And so we are concerned, to the last part of your question, that the effect of Title 42 being rescinded will be a dramatic increase in the number of samples that we'll have to test, hence the enhancement request.
How many facilities do you have for processing samples, and what's the current backlog?
In order to give you that information, I'd have to have my staff follow up with you on that, but I can certainly have them do that.
Please do. Is this situation impacting your ability to timely analyze crime scene samples, and how is processing of those samples prioritized?
I would have to ask our lab director to give you how we handle the prioritization. I think it may be a little bit complicated as to explain that adequately. It is certainly impacting the pace at which we can get through the samples. There's just no question about it. And the number's been growing, and we anticipate that growth to kind of go like this once Title 42 is rescinded.
Are there any other agencies that could help handle that workload?
I mean, I think we're the main answer to the problem. We're the main place in which the samples are tested. There are other labs, of course, around the country that do DNA testing, some, but I think the lion's share of the work falls on our laboratory division.
skipping back again to the cartels, um, what is the answer to the question about the ability to track down, analyze, plot, and diagram response to the huge, uh, profound problem that we face with fentanyl?
Well, it's a multidisciplinary problem requiring multidisciplinary solution. I think it requires not just the intelligence community working together, the law enforcement community, federal, state, and local working together, but also law enforcement in Mexico working with us. We have very good relationships at the working level with our law enforcement counterparts, but let's be clear, I think there's more the Mexican government can and should do to help us with this problem. And we hope that they will. And obviously, the flow of precursors from China to Mexico. Every time there's one that gets listed as a controlled substance, there's another one that pops up in its stead. And so that's a part of the problem. And then, of course, we've got the whole distribution network here in the U.S. We're routinely taking down, dismantling gangs, violent gangs, often neighborhood gangs, that are distributing this stuff, peddling this dangerous stuff to communities all across the country. Then at the end of all of that, then you have the sort of the awareness raising piece to try to help deal with the demand side of it as well. So it has grown, hence my use of the word epidemic. It's grown to such a scale that it really does require a whole lot of different tools: law enforcement, intelligence, diplomacy, financial, health, social services, education. I mean, it's kind of the whole waterfront, because that's just how gigantic the problem is.
It's going to take an all-government attack.
More than government, even. It's really a whole society response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the cartels specifically, are you satisfied that we have an all-government attack on the problem?
I think the government is, the federal government, I think, is working well across agencies to try to go after the problem, but the cartels are sophisticated adversaries that are well-funded from all their illegal activity and have their own share of advantages where they're located. And so more needs to be done to go after them, but we are constantly coming up with new strategies, ways to try to cut off their funding, to penetrate their organizations, to get information about them, to develop cooperators and sources, to collect intelligence on their activities, to figure out how to maximize impact against them. And we've had some successes, some important successes, and some key extraditions that have occurred that show that they do have to have a credible fear or threat from U.S. courts and U.S. prisons. And there's nothing that makes me smile more broadly than seeing a cartel leader in an orange jumpsuit.
Amen.